differences maybe, given that you had some of the, you had Coach Dykes there a year ago, whereas this is I guess essentially just you doing it?
Yeah, I think just early on, at the last place, just like you mentioned, there was some familiarity with kind of what we were doing in terms of scheme, and some of the coaching we're already prone to kind of what we did. So that helped at the last place, and here it is. Definitely a fresh start, change in some terminology and things of that nature, but a lot of things conceptually are the same. It just may be taught a little differently, different philosophy, just kind of a different way of thinking more than anything. And that's what's been neat to see so far. The buy-in from the staff, from day one of just kind of being open-minded and really just digesting everything we're trying to accomplish. And, up to this point with our players, they're eager to really learn this quickly and just kind of get in a groove. And that's what's been good so far is 3 days into it. I think it's a good foundation for us from a player standpoint.
You mentioned offensively, terminology is the big thing. But for an offensive line, is there much structurally different? Like you can see pretty much receivers, some of the differences in Dabo has talked about them. With the offensive line, is it more the terminology, or are there tweaks and different things?
Yeah, not a big wholesale change or anything up front. Again, I think probably just kind of dumbing it down. It's more about just kind of having an identity, being consistent with what we're doing, and those guys getting a million reps at doing the same thing. Up front, at the skill position, at the quarterback position. That's more than anything. That's probably the biggest difference.
I guess Dabo was talking about how the receivers do not switch sides, so you get lined up a lot faster. How much tempo do you like to use, and do you have a goal in terms of from whistle to snap? We want to have it all in this many seconds.
No, not really. I haven't put a set limit or kind of a number on it yet. It's really just what we feel like our guys can handle, number one. And number two, everybody loves to play fast, but defenses have caught up and know how to play against tempo defenses now too. And certainly against some people you feel like you could have an advantage with tempo, but to me it's what's more important is dictating the tempo. Okay, if you just play fast all the time, that may play in the hands of some people. So to me, dictating the tempo is kind of the premium. But with kind of the way we line up, the way we formation, things like that, it does give us the ability to play a little bit faster.
Garrett, what has the process been like as far as evaluating personnel and trying to learn strengths and weaknesses of the players you have on the roster?
Say it again. Sorry, I missed your first part.
Just evaluating the personnel of the offense and what that process has been like.
That's been the fun part, is I get to come in with a complete clean slate for a lot of guys and unbiased, opinions on people, and I kind of get to see it through a different lens. So I think it's probably maybe in a way a little refreshing for some of our current coaches, right, that have known these kids and have seen them every day, and they may hear kind of a different opinion or a different voice on some guys that maybe they didn't think that way in the first place. But that part's been great. That's the fun part, is you get to evaluate what you do have. And, if y'all seen a little bit of our practice early on, we're repping a lot of guys here, as you should in spring, to really kind of get a great sample size on these guys.
How much of that is going back and watching film from last year, and how much is kind of going off of what you see in practice?
For me, it carries more weight of what I actually see now. Certainly I watch the film and games of everything from the past couple of years, really. And, it gives me a little bit of a grasp of kind of what we have, and guys that has some experience and some continuity at some spots. But, it carries a little bit more weight with what I'm seeing right now in front of me.
You mentioned not within the receivers as being something that's different. As far as the splits, will there be any difference from previously here with the receiver splits, like being wider or anything?
We can get to anything, really. We can condense it down. We can widen them out. But from just kind of a normal alignment, it's not a whole lot different than probably what you saw last year.
I guess how do you, obviously the offense as a whole, but Cade, in terms of him picking up the lingo and what you're trying to accomplish, how quickly do you feel like he's absorbing some of the concepts that you want to absorb?
I think quickly, and again, we're all about simplicity and making it easy for that guy, number one. that's the whole thing. If it's easy for the quarterback, odds are it's gonna you're going to reap the benefits of that eventually. So he's grasped it well. I think all those guys have. They've had a great mentality from day one of learning in that quarterback position room. I think we got smart kids in there, guys that understand football. But, yeah, Cade specifically, a lot of things that he's kind of done at the high school level and things we did last year. It's just probably doing a little bit more and higher repetition of it.
From your perspective, did the immediate buy-in from Cade and others as well come from the simplicity that you're referring to? Because he was just glowing the other day, and we talked about how much fewer plays there are compared to last year's plays they were taking to the game.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure that gives him some comfort, of just in 3 days into it, of having a pretty good grasp of going into a practice and just having some confidence with what you're doing at an early age or an early stage of where we're at offensively. That's a good thing, right? And I think that's probably the biggest thing with our quarterbacks right now is, may not be executing it great right now in 3 practices in, but in terms of mentally where we're at, they've got confidence with what we're doing. And so that's a testament to our kids.
3 practices in, can you discuss what you've seen out of CV so far?
CV, yeah, he's a talented dude. He's a big kid now. Fun to watch, eager. Mentally, he's a sharp kid. I mean, it's all kind of going fast and new as you would expect for a young quarterback, but the guy's not phased. You know what I mean? I mean, he's a very poised individual. And so, skill set wise, there's a lot to love about him, but he's had, like I said, he's been a poised guy early on, which is a good sign for a young quarterback.
Noble Johnson, how familiar were you with him from Texas recruiting and just kind of what you've seen from him so far?
Yep, I've known Noble for a couple years now. Have watched a lot of his film and his games and seen him in person. And so he's one that's getting a ton of reps right now, and physically he's a gifted guy, and so we just got to kind of bring him along, and he's already made strides here in just a couple of days. From day one, you can already see some improvement. So same thing, he's an eager individual, but physically gifted.
As far as not flipping receivers, I guess what do you feel like that gives you on offense? I know Dabo talked about tempo, but is there more to it?
Yeah, before tempo, the biggest thing is you just get guys in the same spots and they do things over and over again, and a guy can master, if he's on the left side, he can truly master catching the ball over this shoulder. You get a guy on the right side all year, all day long, he gets to become where he's a master at catching over this shoulder. So things like that where they just do it over and over and over again, and they're not flipping all the time and getting used to a million different things, and so there's some comfort level with just kind of being in the same spot a lot. So yeah, that just kind of goes back to old principles of what I learned at an early age.
How much does it take away when you have so many guys out, particularly at receiver, from your sort of installation and what you want to get done?
I mean, install-wise, really not much. I mean, we're going to put in what we need to put in for the spring and just kind of get a base foundation of, accumulating great tape for us to move forward into summer and into fall camp and all that. So, I really don't care who's out there right now. We've got guys that need to get reps, and there's things we need to get installed and things we need to get good tape of, and then we can build off of that.
How much of the offense would you have installed by the end of spring?
I mean, if I had to put a percentage on it, I'd say probably 80 to 90. I mean, pretty full amount. And then you always see where it goes. You know what I'm saying? You put in your base install, and then you kind of see what you're good at. That's what we're trying to do as coaches. It's ultimately one of our goals on offense is we got to be able by the end of spring to identify kind of what our strengths and weaknesses are. And based on that, that's what we'll go into fall camp with. Based on that in fall camp, that's what we're going to roll with in the season, and we're going to live and die kind of with that.
Hey, you mentioned there was a game last year where there were 80 plays on the call sheet going in. He said he was guessing maybe around 30 for you. Do you have an idea of how many? You may not want to give that exact number away, but do you have kind of an idea?
Yeah, I mean, it's not 80. It's not 80. So, yeah, I mean, just whatever we feel like we need to carry. But for us, for what we do, less is more. And, like I said, we'll just kind of see where we're at and what we feel like we need to carry. But if we can trim it, we're going to trim it.
What is it like with all new position coaches when you're trying to mesh with them and then with you? What's that process been like?
It's been fun, you know. It's a challenge because you're just teaching new personalities and you're, you know, teaching new stuff and all of that. But all the while you're trying to build some chemistry and build some camaraderie in the room and all those things. But that's what's fun about what we do. You know, I mean, that's a big reason of why all of us got into coaching is because you love that part, right? You love to be a part of something, be a part of a team. So that's kind of what we have in our unit meetings with position coaches, and so that's the fun part. You're teaching a lot of things that may be new to some people, and you know, I think that's always good. It's kind of a freshness about it, and now all of a sudden I'm hearing from these other guys that bring fresh ideas too, things that I haven't really thought of in the last couple years or whatever. So I just think for kind of all parties here, there's really good, you know, kind of brainstorming and conversation going on with all this.
How helpful is Kyle Richardson? Then he's a guy high scoring because he ran air raid offense. Does he have a lot of similar ideas or philosophy? You guys mesh that way?
Yeah, no, Kyle's been great. Yeah, he's got some familiarity with it, you know, at his high school days, and he learned a lot of this from Hal Mummy when he worked for him early on in his career. So yeah, there's kind of a common ground there, right? But Kyle's been great. He's definitely someone I can bounce some things off of, and you know, I've already kind of developed that relationship that way for sure.
How important is mobility with offensive linemen in the system that you have?
As far as changing their positions, is that what you're asking now, or more movement?
Able to do gap, you know, the outside
Yeah.
gap stuff.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you want big people, right? But yeah, the athleticism gives us some things where we can get on the edge. I mean, you just see with defenses nowadays, last several years, a lot of people try and cut up the box and junk it up a little bit. So if you can get some people that do have mobility or versatile, you know, it's certainly going to give us some advantages in the run game. You know, we've got some athletic guys up there. I mean, we have some big human beings in that room, and Coach Austin's done a good job with them up to this point. But, you know, there's some versatility up front that I see already.
Would you say last few years what's the breakdown in your mind, zone versus gap?
It's been different the last couple of years with each team. Each team's been kind of different, but you know, I'd say we've probably been a little bit heavier zone just altogether than the gap scheme stuff. But you know, last year at TCU we were probably a little bit better gap team with those guys. So just again, kind of depends on what we're good at and what we feel like we have. But I would say we've been a little heavier zone just the last couple of years. You know, and Clemson's had a great run, had a great, you know, statistical run last year with inside zone. So it's something that I know we have a lot of confidence here, and we've done it well for a long time here.
State of Texas traditionally hasn't been a huge recruiting footprint for Clemson. They've gotten a couple guys last few years. What has it been like for you, having recruited the state for several other schools, to now go in on Clemson's behalf?
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool to wear that pall. There's no doubt. But yeah, it's you know, those a lot of people in Texas, I think, have a great respect for this brand and what Clemson's done, certainly the last decade. And so I think there's a lot of, like I said, a lot of respect out there in that state for Clemson. So, yeah, it's been pretty good outreach, you know, since I got here, from a lot of Texas high school coaches and people I have relationships with, you know, with football. So, you know, I know they're excited for us and for me and for all these Texas guys on our roster. But, you know, we've done well recruiting there last several years and bringing some guys in from Texas. And so I think it's only going to help us kind of have a strong footprint there as we move forward.
I guess last year TCU had Max Duggan was a quarterback who could run the ball, you know, run with some power. Cade's a guy who's got some speed. How do you assess Cade as a runner, and what are his strengths, and how can you utilize those?
Yeah, he's athletic. I mean, Cade's kind of, you know, I don't want to say sneaky fast, but I mean, he's a very versatile, you know, athlete. You know, I mean, you go back, watch high school tape, he was running around pretty good there at Westlake. So, I mean, he brings athleticism. He's a guy you can certainly run. You know, you got to be smart with him. He's not the biggest guy in the world. So, you know, you got to be mindful of that, but he's definitely going to give you an element in the run game for sure.
You mentioned earlier you're bringing a different
I think more than anything, it's just let's get good at a few things, you know, and let's grow from there. But let's just kind of dumb it back down, kind of start fresh in terms of, like I said, just getting really, really good at, you know, at a few things, gain an identity early here in spring football. Let's come away with an identity offensively. And then, like I said, that will grow. You know, and just don't get bored with routine. Don't get bored with doing things over and over and over again. That's something that, you know, our guys have to buy into, and I think we have so far. Now we're early in spring football. It's easy to do it early. So we'll see how we progress or if we can sustain that all the way through.
How do you try to make sure that it doesn't become monotonous? Like, is there a way to make it not that way, or they just have to have the mental?
Yeah, I think mentally it's them seeing, you know, obviously you want to see some results that come along with that, right? And can kind of validate why you do some things. And I think we're seeing that early on here in 3 practices. But, you know, and then the other thing it does too, it allows you, when you do so few things and you just do it over and over again, well, now all of a sudden you can move players around and they know what to do. You can take that receiver we were talking about earlier, that receiver that's always on the left. Well, you may have an injury on the right, and you need to move him over now to that other position. Well, because you're doing the same stuff all the time, that receiver knows what to do over there just because you've done it over and over again. He has seen it on tape over and over again. And so now that kind of gives you some flexibility to move guys. You know, so I think that's kind of another part to it as well.
What type of success have you seen in the last 3 days that has sort of instilled that?
I've been proud just operationally, you know, I mean, getting the call, getting lined up, people in the right spots. Those are always things you worry about kind of early on. You know, we really started well that way on day one. And that was, I don't know if surprising is the right word, but I was pleased about that after seeing it from day one. So I just think operationally, that's the biggest thing, number one. Number two, I mean, we're running around. You know, I mean, we've got guys that are hungry and laying it out there 3 days straight. That's tough, you know, especially starting out with a new system and new installs and all that stuff. So I just think our speed, the way we get lined up, and then operationally speaking, that's been definitely a plus and a positive so far.
Maybe talk about the quarterback some. Is there anything else personnel-wise that kind of stands out about the offense?
Yeah, I mean, obviously our backs, you know, those couple guys back there, and then a couple, you know, kind of reserve guys that are going to be fighting for depth. You know, there's been some nice flashes between a couple of them so far. Tight end room, you know, you've got versatility there. You've got quite a bit of athleticism in that room right now, you know, and so that's been good to see. That's been good to see in some of the passing game and the running game so far. So I think some of the versatility and the variety we have, you know, at the tight end position and in the running back room has been a good sign so far.
Talk about some of the bodies in the tight end room. Jake Briningstool, have you had a guy that profiled like him, or is he unique in terms of?
He is unique. I mean, I've been around some similar types to him, but he's very athletic. I mean, he's got a lot of range to him, and then he can really run. You know, this is a guy that can really run, and so he's going to present some matchup problems in one-on-one situations. There's no question about it. You know, Sage has done a nice job getting him back. I know he's been injured, but getting him back and seeing some of his physicality early on has been good. And then Sap's made a couple nice plays here in the first couple of days. You know, he's athletic. He weighs more than you think. He's almost 240 or something. You know, and so he's one of those bodies that you feel like you could probably do just about anything with. You know, he's strong enough to hold up in the box, and he's certainly athletic enough to be displaced or flexed out.
How creative can you get with a guy like Will Shipley in terms of his ability to run, but also
Yeah, I mean, you can get pretty creative. Yeah, I mean, again, it's a physically and skill set wise, what can he handle? But probably more important is, you know, mentally not overloading him, and that's certainly something we're not going to do early on in spring. But you know, he's a guy that mentally can handle some things, and so he's a guy you can do a lot with and move around and kind of get him in some different matchups.
Maybe go to the back of the room.
I see a lot of new drills, and I see that you're very intentional about some of the things you can do. What does it mean that Coach Swinney kind of allows you to bring some of the stuff you've used in the past and incorporate it into what you're doing? And how important is that to you to kind of teach your way?
Yeah, I mean, that's paramount, I mean, that's in order to really do this thing and do what we know and be committed to it, you got to practice that way. And so that's been great so far that he has the trust in us and me and the rest of our staff to kind of get that really implemented and get it rep the way we need it to get reps so this thing can grow. So, yeah, I mean, I just think that's commitment, right? That's commitment to what we're doing, what we're about.
Is that maybe one of the things that he talked to you about in the hiring process or after you were hired, that a fresh look at things, maybe a fresh way to kind of approach it?
Yeah, that was certainly part of our conversation. It's kind of what he was looking for, and what could I bring to, or would that relationship work? Would we be able to jive that way and all those things? So yeah, those were some conversations we had in talks. Yep.
Anyone else for Coach?
Just one small question. Carson Cramer, I guess the Stafford that overlap with the Kansas
Mm-hmm.
brought here. I guess why is it important to have a guy like that, I guess, to help out? And I think saw him say #dirt raid. So I think maybe you guys have forward.
Yeah, I mean, you hear air raid all the time, and so we got to give the O-lineman and the running back some love at times on that. So when we're on the ball, it's just kind of a little inside joke, I guess, with some dirt raid. So, no, he's been important. He was a good addition for us and for me of just kind of having some continuity there and just another person that's been familiar with what we're about, how we practice, how we game plan, how we break down, just all those sort of things that go into this of just having another voice that way to really just, give me somebody to bounce some things off of that I know has been through it before and knows how we practice, knows what it's supposed to look like. So he's brought a lot of value already.